Imagine standing on a mountain ridge so high the air burns your lungs, looking through a scope at a target over 2 miles away, knowing your rival, an elite sniper from the world's other greatest military power, is doing the exact same thing, hunting you. This is the story of that duel. An altitude duel between British snipers and US Marines that ended with a single shot and instant, crushing regret. Before we peer through that scope and feel that thin, frigid air, I need you to make a choice. The history of special operations is filled with stories guarded by silence and obscured by classification. By subscribing, you demonstrate you are committed to uncovering the true accounts of these legendary units, or you admit you are content with the sanitized versions. How many of us are truly seeking the unfiltered truth? The stage was not a desert outpost in the Middle East, nor a jungle in the Pacific. It was the stark, unforgiving, and breathtakingly beautiful arena of the Hindu Kush, specifically the peaks surrounding the notorious Korangal Valley in Afghanistan, a place American infantry had nicknamed the Valley of Death. This was the mid-2000s, the heart of the conflict against the Taliban and Al-Qaeda. Both British and American forces were engaged in relentless counterinsurgency and counter-sniping operations. The British, with their centuries of regimental marksmanship tradition, often deployed small teams of sniper pairs from units like the Royal Marines and the Brigade Patrol Troop, men who blended the patience of a hunter with the technical prowess of a scientist. Their American counterparts, often Force Recon Marines or seasoned sniper teams from the regular Marine Corps, brought a different doctrine, one forged in the vastness of the American landscape and a culture of overwhelming technical and firepower superiority. They were both masters of their craft, but their philosophies, as we will see, diverged in one critical aspect that would decide everything on that mountain. The incident, whispered about in veteran circles and later corroborated by several accounts from personnel who were there, began not with hostility but with the professional curiosity and quiet competitiveness that always simmers when elite units share a battlefield. A team of US Marine snipers, let's call them Team Echo, had established a high observation post on a dominating peak. Their mission was typical yet vitally important: provide overwatch for a Marine infantry company conducting a clear-and-hold operation in the valley below, and eliminate any high-value targets or enemy spotter teams. They were equipped with the formidable 50 caliber Barrett M107, a beast of a rifle capable of reaching out and touching someone at extreme ranges with devastating effect. It was a tool of intimidation as much as precision. They'd been in position for 2 days, logging routine environmental data: wind, humidity, mirage, and had made a few long-range shots, cementing their dominance over their valley. They felt, understandably, like kings of the mountain. Unbeknownst to them, a 2-man British sniper team, from a unit so covert its members often didn't wear recognizable insignia, had infiltrated the adjacent ridge system. Their mission was similar but with a deeper, more patient intent: to identify and disrupt Taliban command and control nodes that were using the high trails. They were not carrying a 50 cal. Their weapon of choice was the L115A3, chambered in 338 Lapua Magnum. It was lighter, quieter, and in the hands of these men, just as deadly at the ranges they operated. Their focus was not on sheer power, but on absolute concealment, ghost-like movement, and the perfection of a first-round shot. Where the Marines saw the mountain as a stronghold, the British saw it as a hide. The first interaction was through radio. The British team, called them Spartan 1, made a courtesy call to the Marine command post, informing them of their general presence in the area to avoid any tragic blue-and-blue incidents. The Marine sniper team leader, a seasoned staff sergeant with multiple deployments, acknowledged. A standard professional exchange. But then, over the secure net, a conversation sparked between the two sniper teams themselves. It began with shop talk, wind calls, the unusual density altitude that day a crucial factor as the air at 10,000 feet is far less dense, affecting bullet trajectory profoundly. Then it turned to equipment. The Marine, proud of his Barrett, mentioned its ability to punch through walls and light armor. The British spotter, a man with a calm, almost academic tone, agreed on its power but questioned its necessity for a precision shot on a human target at extreme range. "It's a brilliant hammer," he said diplomatically, "but not every problem is a nail." A friendly debate ensued. It was the classic argument: raw, barrier-defeating power versus refined, whisper-quiet precision. The altitude, they both agreed, was a great equalizer and a brutal teacher. A 50 cal round, heavy and powerful, was still massively affected by the thin air. It would fly higher and drop less than at sea level, but its stability could be more influenced by high winds. The .338 Lapua, designed as a long-range cartridge, was potentially more predictable in these conditions. The conversation was technical, respectful, but beneath it lay the unspoken weight of national pride. These were two of the most celebrated shooting traditions on Earth, now sharing the same thin air. Eventually, the British spotter said, "Well, seeing as we're both here, with a grandstand view and nothing but time until the enemy shows his face, how about a friendly wager? A duel of data, not bullets." The proposal was simple. They would both engage the same distant, inanimate target, perhaps a solitary rock or a ruined wall structure at a range they would mutually agree was challenging. They would not reveal their exact firing positions to each other. They would simply call their shot, make it, and report the result via radio. The loser would owe the winner a case of the victor's chosen beverage, delivered discreetly the next time they were at the same base. The Marine Staff Sergeant, confident in his rifle, his spotter, and his team's proven skill, accepted. "You're on," he said. "Name your range." The British team suggested a distance. When the Marine heard it, he paused. It was well over 2,000 meters, pushing the very limits of the 338 Lapua and certainly at the far edge of effective range for a 50 cal on a man-sized target. It was a bold, almost arrogant call. "That's a hell of a poke," the Marine responded. "Can your round even carry that far up here?" "Oh, it'll carry," the Brit replied, that calm tone still in place. "The question is, can you read the wind well enough to guide yours?" The gauntlet was thrown. The target was identified. A distinctive pale-colored rock face, approximately the size of a car door, on a mountainside across a deep chasm. The range was lasered and confirmed by both teams, 2,100 meters, in miles. That's over 1.3. At that distance, the bullet would be in flight for nearly 4 seconds. The curvature of the Earth and the planet's rotation begin to become minor factors. It was a shot of pure, unadulterated skill. The Marine team, Team Echo, went to work with methodical, technological precision. Their spotter pulled out a full suite of tools. An advanced handheld weather station to get localized wind speed, direction, and air density, a ballistic computer loaded with the precise specifications of their ammunition and rifle, and a high-magnification spotting scope with a built-in reticule for measuring drift. They calculated everything. The wind was tricky, coming in layers of light breeze at their position, but they could see dust plumes indicating stronger gusts in the valley between them and the target. They input data points for 3 different wind zones. The density-altitude calculation was critical at their elevation, with the temperature. The apparent altitude the bullet would experience was over 11,000 feet. They dialed a monumental elevation correction into their scope. The staff sergeant settled behind the Barrett, a rifle that weighs over 30 pounds. He took long, slow breaths, working to control his heart rate, which was already elevated by the thin air and the pressure. He was not just a shooter. He was a system operator. His finger took up the slack on the 2-stage trigger. "Send it," his spotter whispered. The rifle roared, a thunderous crack that echoed down the valley. The massive recoil was absorbed by the weapon's hefty weight and efficient muzzle brake. For long seconds passed. The spotter watched through his scope. A cloud of dust erupted just to the right and about 3 meters short of the pale rock face. "A miss right, 2, up a lot," the spotter called out, analyzing the splash. They adjusted. The Marine fired again. Another 4-second wait. This time the dust plume was closer, just a meter off to the left. They were walking it in, a valid technique at extreme range. A third shot was prepared. The process was a masterclass in modern technology-aided long-range shooting. Meanwhile, on the adjacent ridge, the British team, Spartan 1, was doing something that, to an outside observer, would have looked like nothing at all. They were still. The sniper was in his firing position, but he was not looking through his scope. He was looking around. His spotter was not fiddling with a computer. He was holding a simple old-style mil-dot reticle scope, but he was using all of his senses. He watched the grass, the way the dust moved, the sway of distant trees. He was feeling the wind on his own face, noting subtle shifts in temperature. They spoke in low, almost casual murmurs. "Wind's coming left to right here, but watch the ravine at 1,400 meters. It's switching, creating a vortex. The mirage is boiling straight up at the target. Dead air there for a moment." Their data came not from sensors, but from a profound, almost zen-like reading of the environment itself. They used a basic ballistic table, memorized and adjusted by experience and intuition. Their calculation was a blend of hard numbers and artistic feel. The sniper finally got behind his L115A3. His movements were economical, minimal. He took a few breaths, then exhaled fully and paused at the natural respiratory pause. In that moment of stillness, he broke the shot. The report of the 338 was sharp and loud, but less earth-shattering than the Barrett's boom. The Marine team, having just sent their 3rd round, heard it. They instinctively looked toward the target, waiting for the British splash. 4 seconds passed. Then, through his powerful spotting scope, the Marine spotter saw a tiny, distinct white puff appear directly in the center of the pale rock face. A direct hit. 1st round. No walking in. Just a cold bore shot at 2,100 meters in high altitude. Variable wind conditions. The radio crackled to life. The British spotter's calm voice came through. "Spartan 1, target struck. Your lads see the splash." The Marine Staff Sergeant was stunned. He keyed his mic, his voice tight. "Roger that. Good hit." It was a monumental shot, a world-class shot. The wager was lost. There was a moment of radio silence, filled only with the hollow mountain wind. Then the British sniper's voice, not gloating, just stating a fact, came through. "Your 3rd round was closer. You'd have had it on the 4th. It was meant to be gracious, but in that moment it felt like salt in a wound. But the duel wasn't over. The instantaneous regret, The "oh no" moment hinted at in our title was not the Marines for losing the bet, it was for what happened next. The Taliban, as it turned out, were also students of their environment. The successive, massive booms of the .50 caliber Barrett had acted as a perfect homing beacon, while the British shot had been quieter. The American rifle was unmistakable, and its repeated reports had allowed a Taliban mortar team, hidden in a cave network lower in the valley, to triangulate Team Echo's position. They had been searching for that Overwatch team for days. The Marines, focused on their high-tech Duel, and momentarily frustrated by the loss, were in the process of packing their data gear when the first 82mm mortar round whistled in. It landed 50 meters downslope. A ranging shot. The boom of the Barrett had been answered. Incoming, the spotter yelled. They were exposed on a rocky outcrop with little cover. They grabbed their essential gear and began a frantic scrambling retreat off the peak, as more mortar rounds began to walk up the ridge toward their former position. It was a desperate, humiliating scramble for cover. Their King of the Mountain status violently revoked. They called for immediate suppression fire from the company below and a quick reaction force. As they tumbled into a more covered defilade, the radio buzzed. It was Spartan 1. The British spotter's voice was still calm, but now it held a new intensity. Echo, we have eyes on your friends. Mortar team, 3 personnel, in a crevice at grid. He read out precise coordinates. Do you require us to deal with it? The offer was clear. They had not only made the impossible shot, but they had also remained completely unseen, and now they were watching the very threat that was harassing the Marines. The instant regret for the Marine Staff Sergeant was multifaceted: the loss of the bets, the compromise of their position due to their own signature, and now the realization that the quieter British philosophy wasn't just about precision, it was about survival and sustained operational effectiveness. He swallowed his pride. Affirmative, Spartan. You are cleared to engage. What happened next took less than 30 seconds. The British spotter provided a final whispered wind call. A single, sharp crack echoed from a direction the Marines couldn't even pinpoint. 4 seconds later, the British voice returned to the net. Spartan 1. Target neutralized. 1 shooter down. The other 2 are scrambling. Second round away. Another crack, another wait. Second target down. Third is running. He's in the open. A final deliberate shot. Third target down. Mortar pit is silent. You're clear to regroup. 3 shots, 3 kills. At a range likely similar to their demonstration shot, under immediate pressure, with a company of Marines now depending on them. The British team had not moved. They had remained hidden, patient, and lethally effective. They had won the duel of precision, and then, without fanfare, won the real fight that resulted from losing the duel of noise discipline. The aftermath was a lesson in humility and different doctrines. The Marine team eventually made it safely off the mountain. Later, at a forward operating base, the staff sergeant made good on his wager, presenting the British team with a case of very fine Scottish whiskey. The British sniper accepted it with a handshake and a nod. No hard feelings. It was a good shot you were walking in. The conditions were diabolical. The Marine nodded back. Yours was better, and quieter. They shared a drink, and the British sniper finally shared a bit of their philosophy. We think of it like this, he said. Your method is like a brilliant surgeon using the loudest, most powerful scalpel in the world. It works, but our method is to be the virus the body never detects. Sometimes the greatest advantage is not being heard at all. The Marine understood then that the altitude duel wasn't just about ballistics. It was a duel of philosophies, overwhelming presence versus ghost-like persistence. In the thin air of the Hindu Kush, the ghost had proven not only more precise but ultimately more survivable and operationally decisive. If this revelation about the high-stakes silent world of elite sniping and the fatal cost of a single sound has gripped you, then you need to subscribe right now. Every click on that subscribe button is a vote for uncovering the true, unvarnished stories from the shadows of conflict. Don't let these lessons be forgotten. This incident, though specific, illuminates the broader, evolving art of military sniping in the 21st century. The age of the lone wolf marksman with a standard rifle is long gone. Today's sniper is part of a complex intelligence and effects chain. They are sensors, communicators, and sometimes, the final arbiters of a mission. The British approach, exemplified by the Spartan 1 team, draws deeply from a history that includes the legendary snipers of World War II and the covert reconnaissance units of the Cold War. It emphasizes independence, deep fieldcraft, and what they call hearts and minds, even in shooting, understanding the human terrain as thoroughly as the physical one. Their training is relentlessly focused on the fundamentals, often stripping away technology to build an unshakable foundation. A British sniper candidate might spend days learning to estimate wind by feeling it on his cheek and watching grass move before he ever touches a ballistic computer. The U.S. Marine Corps sniper program, by contrast, is born from the Corps infantry ethos and the American embrace of technological solutionism. It is a formal, incredibly demanding schoolhouse, known for its attrition rate. Marines learn to be expert marksmen, but they are also trained to integrate closely with infantry formations, providing supporting fire and intelligence. The Barrett 50 cal symbolizes a facet of this philosophy, the ability to not just kill personnel, but to dismantle material to blow up a parked car carrying explosives. to disable a technical, to punch through a wall behind which an enemy is hiding. It is about applying precision as a form of scalable force. The risk, as Team Echo learned, is signature. The sound, the muzzle flash, the sheer size of the weapon system can give away a position. The challenge for modern US snipers has been to integrate the patient, covert aspects of the British-style stalker with their own culture of decisive, powerful engagement. The altitude factor in this duel cannot be overstated. For a sniper, high altitude is a double-edged sword. The thin air means less drag on the bullet, allowing it to travel faster and farther with a flatter trajectory over certain distances. However, it also means the bullet is more susceptible to wind drift because there is less air mass to stabilize it. The calculations become exponentially more complex. A bullet that might drop 100 inches at 1,500 meters at sea level might only drop 70 inches at that same range at 10,000 feet, but a 10 miles per hour crosswind that would drift at 20 inches at sea level might drift it 30 inches up high. This is where the duel truly happened, in the minds of the spotters. The Marine spotter trusted his instruments, which gave him discrete, numerical data points. The British spotter trusted his calibrated senses and experience, which gave him a continuous, flowing picture of the environment. In the specific, chaotic conditions of that mountain ridge, with swirling winds and a boiling mirage, the human computer, honed by years of obsessive observation, proved more adaptable than the digital one in that moment. It wasn't that technology failed. It was that its data was incomplete without the intuitive synthesis the British team applied. The aftermath of such encounters reshapes tactics. Stories like this one, passed down through deployments, have influenced equipment and training choices. The US military has since invested heavily in quieter, more compact precision rifles like the Mk13 and has placed greater emphasis on suppressed fire to reduce acoustic signature. The concept of being first seen has become as important as seeing first. Conversely, British and other NATO allied units have adopted more advanced ballistic computation technology, not to replace their fieldcraft but to augment it, to provide a second layer of verification. The modern sniper is now a hybrid, expected to be a master of both the art of the stalk and the science of the shot. Perhaps the most profound takeaway from this altitude duel is a psychological one. For the US Marine team, the instant regret was a tactical awakening. It was the visceral understanding that in an asymmetric fight against an observant, patient insurgent force, every action has a reaction. The boom of the rifle is not just a sound, it is a broadcast. Their confidence, entirely justified by their skill and tools, had momentarily blinded them to the second and third order effects of their chosen method. For the British team, their success validated a philosophy that prizes sustainability and subtlety over shock and awe. They demonstrated that the ultimate form of control on a battlefield is often not the power to destroy what you can see, but the power to observe and influence while remaining utterly unseen. Their victory was not just in a single incredible shot, but in maintaining the freedom to act after that shot was fired. This is the razor's edge upon which modern special operations walk. It is a world of constant, quiet competition and mutual learning, where a lost bet can be the lesson that saves lives on the next mission. The rivalry between units like these is not born of animosity, but of a shared, desperate pursuit of excellence in the most demanding conditions imaginable. They push each other, sometimes intentionally, sometimes just by sharing the same brutal space, to evolve, to adapt, to become better. The British sniper who made that shot, and the US Marine who missed his, both walked away from that mountain as more complete operators. One learned the value of silence. The other learned the depth of perception that lies beyond the numbers on a screen. These stories matter because they are not just about shooting. They are about decision-making under extreme duress, about the fusion of human intuition with advanced technology, and about the eternal military truth that the flashiest tool is not always the right one for the mission. They remind us that in the silence between the thunderclaps of war, there is another, more subtle war being waged by men of extraordinary patience and skill. If the thought of these silent battles, decided by a breath held at the right moment and a finger's gentle squeeze, fascinates you, then your journey into this shadow world is just beginning. We have only scratched the surface of what happens when the world's best decide to test each other on the edge of the possible. Now, I want to hear from you. Was the British victory a triumph of timeless fieldcraft over modern technology, or simply the right tool for that specific day on the mountain? Do you think the US Marine Team's approach is ultimately more versatile for a wider range of combat scenarios? Leave your opinion in the comments below. If you liked this deep dive into a legendary sniper duel, click that subscribe button right now. It's free, and it guarantees you won't miss our next exploration of the untold stories from special operations history. And if you want to discover more about what the future of warfare reserves as these elite units continue to evolve and clash, click now on the video that appears on your screen.